Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. And today's video is about the preview of 2521 episode 1. So, the episode 1 of 2521 begins in the present day with Minche arriving for a ballot competition in front of a bunch of judges. Unfortunately, she loses her nerve after watching a talented individual perform before her. She decides to outright quit. Running away from this, Minche ends up at her grandmother's place, staying in her mom's old room where numerous fencing medals are hanging up. While rooting around her room, Minche finds her mom's diary. As she opens it up, she finds details surrounding her life. Minche begins reading the entries, which immediately sees us cut back to the heavily saturated world of 1998. Visually, it's a nice way of differentiating the two time periods, and Hidu is our main protagonist in this time period. She shows up at the class on Saturday and she is a joyous mood. This is the one day of a week she enjoys because she can see that kid. However, we're also in the middle of IMF situation too. For those unaware, this is the financial crisis experienced by Koreans in the late 90s, causing a severe foreign exchange shortage, leaving South Korea on the brink of defaulting. Anyway, there are protests in the street about protecting the film industry, but for Hidu, she's too young and naive to even think about this and continues on her way to Taeyang High. There she finds Goyuram. Urim is a hugely talented fencer, and Hidu has big dreams to one day become a rival. Unfortunately, the IMF crisis sees the fencing team disbanded, and that means Hidu's dreams now rest solely with trying to make it into Taeyang High. She wants a transfer, but her mom is having none of it, instead, telling her to quit the sport. As the pair argue, the new paperboy Bekijin arrives at the house with a newspaper. It's his first day and overhears everything, eventually throwing the newspaper but breaking the peeing boy statue outside. As fate would have it, there's even a note specifically saying not to deliver newspapers. Unfortunately, this fake statue has had its penis knocked off, and it's the crux of Heather's anger as she's head out and confronts the paperboy. Agent has only just moved into the neighborhood and he's got a part-time job in the comic book store too. Funnily enough, Hedu is actually a regular here and shows up looking for the next volume of Full House, that comic she's been reading. However, the one she's handed in happens to have a large bogey right across the page and he calls her out for defacing it. Sorry. That night, Hedo sneaks into Taeyang High and drops to her knees, pleading with Coach Yang to teach her. She declines but does encourage her to try and transfer there if she can. When a big fight breaks out in the streets between a bunch of girls, Hedo seizes the opportunity to show her skills, grabbing an umbrella and using that as a fencing weapon to twat a guy who arrives to mess up her plans. You see, Hedu is so desperate to transfer her that she's willing to get herself arrested to see this happen. The other girls all stop and watch her fight, but everything goes horribly wrong when she fails to get arrested. However, this scene does help to show the girl has some serious skills. The same umbrella, though, is eventually thrown down to Urim later that afternoon by Hidu, who hides up on the roof and calls out that she's a fan. Things go from bad to worse later that day when Hido shows up at a club as a minor. She's adamant on doing something illegal when she's called into a private room. Who should be there with Agent is not exactly comfortable with her arrival, but one of the other guys berates Agent, claiming he's gotten cheap since his family went bankrupt. Agent ignores the warnings of a man and takes Hidu outside. He warns her that things could have really gone bad. It's here she opens up about losing her dreams of fencing. Agent, though, knows all about losing things, given his family's history, and encourages her to come up with a better plan if she wants to succeed. Agent also tells her she needs to hold on to her dream and not to let it go. After finding out each other's names, Hidu decides he can continue to deliver newspapers after all. In the morning, Hidu ends up in a big argument with her mom. As things escalate, she rips up Hidu's comic book, which is a step too far. You see, Hidu's mom is pretty cold toward her daughter, and over the years, Hidu has always found solace in the words and pictures of the comic. These have been bad since her father has passed away, which could explain Hidu's mother's depression and cold demeanor. As the tears well up on her face, she eventually composes herself and walks away, not even looking at her daughter as she leaves the house for work. Unfortunately, Hidu is still left in a sticky situation given the comic she's returning has ripped pages that are certainly not fit for the shelf. She does her best to replace the pages though, drawing them in herself. When Hidu returns the book, she is an absolute wreck and struggles to get her words out around her cries. For Agent, though, he takes the comic back home and begins reading what she's done. Struggling to hold in his laps, her spelling is pretty atrocious. In the morning, Hidu shows up to see Coach Yang. She manages to pass the first test, swiping an apple in her spot in midair. The second test, a complete and utter failure. She has to guess odds or events, and she fails every time. She even loses her shoes, however, her tenacity and Coach Yang's skills are enough for her to allow Hidu to study at Yang High. Interestingly, it turns out that she was already granted a place there before. Hidu's mom actually showed up earlier in the day and asked her for a chance to teach Hidu. She may be prickly and standoffish, but this woman also has a heart too and can see how important it is to her daughter. So Hidu manages to go to her new high school after all and calls out to Yejin for his help in achieving this. Only he's already passed the house and dropping off the paper. Still, he happens to overhear all of this from behind the hedges and smiles warmly, issuing a congratulations. However, Please to share and subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. Bye.